Hello.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm good.
Staying safe out there?
I'm
Up
doing
there?
my I'm doing my very 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 best. I have
Yeah.
my I got my emergency kit here right with me right now.
Oh, nice.
I'm all set. I think you might be a little. I think you're blurry there. Maybe the COVID's got you. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'll see if I can fix it. Here we
All
go.
right, perfect.
Better?
Yeah, just following chat here. Willens didn't really like our choice of music, so I put on another tune and Chris commented that was a little bit more like paranoia music for COVID. So yeah, that wasn't the intent there at all. But yeah, no, it's still got you blurry. I'm not sure what's going on there, but
Hmm.
I'll
Weird.
give
I
you
don't know. Um, okay. Well,
fair
I
enough.
guess we'll
We'll
just have to
carry
get
on.
through it.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll autofocus here. So um, is this the guy broadcasting? Yes, it is. Your powers of astuteness are unparalleled, Nathan. So, yeah. So, what's going on over in Chicagoland? Certainly not Adepticon.
Yeah. No. Yeah, pretty much we're on lockdown, man.
Yeah.
Except for me because I still have to go to work
Right.
because I work for Ecolab.
Right.
And the EPA put out a list where they essentially said, here's the top 50 disinfectants that kill COVID,
Right.
and 7 of the products we make at our facility are the top 7 on that list.
Right.
So we don't get any time off. In fact, we have to work extra. So it's
Wow.
a lot. It's a lot. Yep.
Yeah. It's like that here too. I'm currently well, we just announced like a school closure, so we're closed indefinitely starting Friday. So we don't really know what that translates to right now. So everything's like kind of in a state of flux and fluidity, as is most of the country at this point. So um, I'm just gonna make Joe disappear here for a second. I think we have a. Oh, there we go. Perfect. We got you.
There we
I don't
go.
know. That must have just
The
been something going
the
on.
blurriness is gone.
Yeah, it was driving me crazy. So people are just gonna click on our podcast. It says warning comes in. Joe's like fading in and out. What's happening here? Fair enough. We're good. So yeah, we basically don't know what's happening here on our end. I mean, quarantine and being like confined to like your house is really kind of like a regular routine for me. So like if I gotta be forced to be in the studio a bit more, just not really a change of pace. So the only downside is no hobby store runs, I guess. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
But we do have a ton of items to get through, kind of housekeeping, and so we got a good crowd in here. So why don't we just kind of start into there? We will go through. We're going to spend a bulk of the episode on talking about Iden. We don't have a ton to talk about, but we do have a number of items. So how's the availability of testing? And you know what, Kyle? I'm not 100% sure. Our growth on coronavirus is pretty strong. Like we had a week ago, maybe like 3 to 4 cases in BC, like which is on the coast, the west coast, and then today alone 83 cases. So what I'm thinking is the increase of cases is likely due to the increase of testing. So
Yeah.
and Joe's kind of experiencing some of that in his area as well. So I think it's pretty standardized across the country that testing's kind of increasing and more cases are coming based on the prevalence of that. So
Yeah, I have a feeling a lot more people have it than they realize because it's basically no one's really able to get tested
yeah,
unless they're in pretty severe dire needs and they're at the emergency room. So the only way they'll test you in the state of Illinois. So it's funny because I've actually been sick and my employer sent me home and they were like, "Go get tested for COVID." And I was like, "Okay, let me call my doctor." My doctor's like, "We don't administer the test. Call the health department." I called the health department and they're like, basically, you have to go to an emergency room. You have to be tested for every type of influenza and viral and bacterial infection first, out of
right,
pocket. And if all of those come up negative, then you can be tested for COVID because there's so few tests available. So I went to like the immediate care and I got tested and they were like, "Yeah, you just have an ear infection. Just take an antibiotic." And I was like,
nice.
"All right, I'm good." And then they were like, you're clear to go back to work. You're not even contagious. So that was enough to satisfy the employer and everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough even getting those kits, I guess.
Okay, here's the irony of this though. So you went and got tested. You got the official seal of approval that you can return to your workplace. There's nothing that precludes you from the moment you walked out of that clinic where they said you don't have it, from you getting it from somebody else walking into that clinic. Like,
right.
I mean, the testing is so, like, it's such a snapshot of time. Like, so, yeah, it's just such a strange thing right now. Like, that just because you're tested once doesn't mean you won't test positive again, and just because you have a cold doesn't mean you have it. And there's all kinds of, obviously there's a hysteria around it. I think a lot of it is well founded, but I think some of it is crazy. I'm not sure if you're experiencing kind of like I'm not 100% sure what COVID does to the body in terms of what it requires, but I think part of it is like paranoia shopping, because like one of the Walmarts that's here, I got pictures from it last night, and like there's like 20 aisles cleaned out. Like people are buying everything. There was like 6 cans of beans left and like some Dasani water, because apparently nobody buys that water. Everybody buys every other kind of water, but
that's the water that gets you sick.
I heard it's in toilet paper. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So here's the thing. I really think that the paranoia at this point is not even about the virus anymore. It's about the uncertainty of what tomorrow's going to bring. That's why people are freaking out and clearing out the aisles. Because every day our governor is making announcements that they're shutting, like mandatory shutdowns for more and more things, right? So now you're not allowed to operate restaurants. You're not allowed to operate bars. So people are like, oh, I'm the type of person that goes through the drive-through for every dinner, or like orders delivery for every lunch or something. And now I don't have groceries, so I need to go out to the store and buy like $400 worth of stuff, because I don't know when they're going to open restaurants again. And there's no like timeline or realistic information. It changes every single day. So the hysteria is just a result of that. It's a result of the uncertainty. Right. And it's just going to stay bad for a while, I think. Amazon just announced that they're not even shipping anything that isn't a medical supply until April 5th at the earliest.
I should have got my Amazon orders in earlier, I guess. So,
I mean, it is what it is, you know. So,
for sure. All right. Well, we better get on with some Legion before Willens in the chat has a fit. So, he's getting on our case in there. So, welcome. But let's slide into our first, let's say, Legion topic, I guess here. So. What do we have up first? I think we were going to go with this one here. Okay, announcement coming out of Organized Play today. What were they saying?
They basically canceled all Organized Play events for all their games until at least June 1st. Right. I think that's a conservative date. I think it's probably actually going to end up getting pushed even further back if I would agree. Yeah. In fact, I want to not to foreshadow future topics too early, but I think everything FFG announced today was the wrong date. But we'll get into that. So uncertainty around when Worlds is actually going to happen, if Worlds is going to even happen this year. There's no real information. It's just, hey, all the World Championships for every single game that we have are canceled, and we're sorry. And maybe after June 1st, we'll see. Right. One thing people have been mentioning is, how does that affect Kubla Khan? Because Kubla Khan is now a grand championship, right? So does that mean that that's canceled as well?
I was hearing some rumors today where people believed, or were again foreshadowing, that potentially it is canceled as well. I mean, that's not that's only pure speculation. So don't run and cancel a trip if you got it booked or whatever for that. But that's kind of what we're hearing. So.
I mean, California right now is in pretty dire shape in terms of being one of the worst cases of COVID in the country. So I have a feeling they're going to shut like everything down for a while.
Yeah.
If I were gonna bet, I would assume that con is gonna be canceled. Just saying.
Right.
So
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, that was the announcement coming out. I think they're just putting that out because that's conservative at this point. I think it gives enough time to, if you need to extend that deadline, they can. But also gives people enough time where if you don't need to cancel last minute if you were kind of holding out. So kind of gives us a little bit of breathing space. Are you hearing anything out of your local store, Joe, in terms of like, I know we got an announcement today that the Key Forge event that they were going to have was going to be canceled. So are you hearing that as well out of your store?
so in terms of Game Storm, I mean, John's the kind of guy that will keep the store open on Christmas. So
Okay.
he made an announcement that he's not shutting down.
Oh.
And he's just gonna go into like heavy disinfecting hourly or something. But all the like actual play groups, like the subgroups inside of that, are just being like, yeah, we're canceling our tournaments. So I think there was like a big X-Wing tournament that was supposed to happen, and they were just like, we're not going to run that tournament.
I, I don't want to cast
Yeah.
any doom and gloom for him, but I'm not sure he's going to have a choice eventually. So,
Yeah, and it's going to come
yeah.
down to like the governor said you're not allowed to go into restaurants.
Yeah.
So all the governor needs to say is you're not allowed to go into any stores where there would be more than 10 people or something.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I think a lot of people are just taking it upon themselves to not go out of their for fear of their own safety.
Yeah.
It's not looking great.
Right.
So,
All right. Well, let's bring this up here on the topic of world championships and primes and all those sort of things. So, I don't know what the schedule looks like, but I'm going to suspect that we're probably going to see some of these events start to maybe drop off the map too. I don't know if this is just going to include majors. Obviously, we're talking about store level events. I know that we don't have a prime championship. I just use this logo just to speak about that. But we do have an event that was supposed to happen on the 27th. I was already missing it for Adepticon, but then I was going to be here because I can't travel to Chicago. But then we just got word today that that one's canceled as well. So I think, like you said, I think people are just erring on the side of caution, and let's not get too many people together. That being said, we did have some people here on the weekend, but we literally had a sanitizing station set up here right in the studio. It was like, there was, if you wanted to get food, it was like scoop it out and put it into something. Don't touch a bunch of stuff, all that sort of hygiene stuff. I think it's just good practice, but we kind of get complacent on three guys reaching into a bowl of chips normally doesn't seem weird. But at this time we kind of make some adjustments around that. So I did want to say back on the World Championships. Let me just give a shout out there to Krabuk, 2020 World Champion. I seen that he announced on Discord he claimed the prize. He did say since it's not happening at this point, he's the official champion. I mean, dibs are dibs. And in my book, Dim's reign. So Krabuk, 2020 World Champion. So unofficial, of course, but I'll be gunning for him in 2021. So watch out, Krabuk. So I'm
I was happy to see that. I was happy to see he was one of the people that was able to buy his clear red dice, since none of the distributors were actually able to get them to the stores. So
fair.
Unless you went to eBay, nice job, man.
Yeah, and if you're
Congrats
going to
on that
eBay.
win.
Yeah. Congratulations! I want to know the winning list. What exactly that was.
The winning shopping list. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, fair enough. So while we're just talking about Adepticon, I mean, other than being, I'm quite disappointed. I haven't attended Adepticon yet. It's one of the big ones that I haven't been to. So worlds aside, I'm disappointed to miss that. Disappointed that I don't get a chance to travel. We could have got get some games in. We had quite a few people meeting up at Joe's, and unfortunately, that's unable to happen, whether we wanted to or not. Joe and I did discuss just flying there anyway, even if it wasn't happening. But we have a kibosh here in our country on travel internationally. I was also looking at 14 days quarantine on the way back, whether I wanted it or not. So, a 1 week trip turns into a 3 week trip, which is not ideal to miss that much work. So, what do you think are the implications for a missed Adepticon this year? Like, I mean, just in general, Legion aside, like we have invites, or what do you think about rollover? What do you think about, like,
Mm.
I mean, Adepticon probably purchases a whole ton of like 2020 swag and like, things that are marked Adepticon. We'll get into talking about our tokens, which we now have an Adepticon exclusive. So, um, just
It's
unavailable.
extra special collectible.
Yeah, exactly. Commemorate the
No,
event that
yeah.
you missed.
Yeah, it's man, it's a huge bummer. I mean, listen, it's none of this is good for anyone. Okay, Adepticon aside, but yeah, just talking to Kyle, he's a local guy. He's on the Adepticon staff. He's really, really, really hurt by it because he's just like, yeah, man, I've been putting in hours and hours and hours of work and my time towards this, and now it's all just nothing. So that sucks. Anytime you cancel a convention, there's just a massive loss of money for basically anyone who is going to be a retailer at the convention staff, the people who are just all the merch, the money that they sunk into the merch to get, the Adepticon t-shirts made and all that stuff.
Yep.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's just like a massive loss that they have to take. And they
Right.
have to reimburse everyone for their tickets and stuff. So it's not like they get to keep any of that.
Right.
It's just a straight up loss for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks for the retailers too. I mean, a lot of retailers bank on major conventions as being like a source of revenue that keeps them afloat for the year.
Yep.
Look at Battlefront. Well, I've actually seen, so not only in the miniature world, because I follow like multiple convention circuits for other hobbies too, and they're basically all getting canceled, but seeing a
Yep.
lot of retailers who are just doing massive sales, like
Mm-hmm.
online sales, because they're like 25% off of everything the week of the con that would have happened.
Right.
Because now I'm just taking a huge loss and I need to recoup that.
Well, I
So
think
yeah, we're seeing Battle Foam's got a sale, right?
yeah. I think what
Yeah.
happens is, let's just take Gen Con for example. Like I was talking to a guy last year and he told me that, Gen Con has actually surpassed the Indianapolis 500 in terms of people that go in. So if you can imagine taking that much revenue for that period of time out of a city, out of the economy, the hotels, the even the street vendors that are selling like, hot dogs and all those things, they look
Right.
forward to that event, right? And a place like Battle Foam or other companies, what they often do is they'll often gear up inventory going into these, right? And
Mhm.
so you make a purchase, and oftentimes you might extend yourself. I'm not saying that they've overextended, but you extend yourself and you put your money into product in the
Right.
anticipation that you're going to sell at an event and probably make for a profit, obviously. But now Battle Foam likely is sitting on a bunch of stuff that they got geared up for this, and now they're looking to make a sale, and it's probably at a loss for what they probably would have made at the event. So, and I mean, Battle Foam's a bigger company. I'm not sure exactly how big, but there is oftentimes smaller gaming companies that will do the exact same thing with not necessarily the ability to bounce back. So, even putting, money like us, for example, we've invested into these tokens, right? We put an amount up to do that, and we were hoping to distribute at Adepticon and kind of do all that. Well, now we are even dealing with right now we have a distribution thing. It's not necessarily a financial
Mhm.
burden to us, but we have a logistics problem, right? Because we're losing
Right.
out on the distribution of 50, 60, 70 sets, whatever we were going to get rid of. So there's a ripple effect to all these things, and of course we're all kind of feeling it a little bit, and the loss
Yeah.
of plane tickets and hotel bookings, and if you could get back and you couldn't, like I'm on the hook for my flight because it's just the nature of the flight that I got. So good deal, but now it's not such a good deal because it's not reimbursable. So yeah,
Mhm.
so it's just unfortunate. So I feel bad for anyone who's experiencing anything related to loss or financially or otherwise for the event. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so
It
unhappy
sucks,
notes.
man.
So
Sucks.
on a happier note, actually, why don't we just slide over and why don't you just give the logistics on what we're doing on this end here, just on the tokens, people who have bought them. I've been getting a ton of private messages, as you probably have as well, just on what our plans and thoughts were around this. So maybe just put people's mind at ease here.
Yeah, so I mean, we're just fully expecting to ship them. We're gonna have to. When you placed your order, it did ask for an address. I'm assuming and hoping that everyone put in their actual address. If you did not, please reach out to the Legion Academy Facebook page via private message. Even if we don't get back to your message right away, we will eventually see it. Now, keep this in mind. The tokens have not actually arrived in our hands yet. They were scheduled to arrive in hand before all of this virus stuff happened next Monday. So I haven't received any correspondence from the poker chip company. However, they are California based. So I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm thinking that I wouldn't be surprised if there was a delay, just given that I don't know, maybe they're having issues, just being that they're in California and they're kind of shutting a lot of stuff down out there. So I'm just gonna ask everyone just be patient with that whole thing, but. What we're going to do is if we're going to just get them in the mail. We have all of your addresses because you put them in the order form, and we're just going to box them up and mail them. We were already planning on mailing out like 100 sets. We now just have to mail out 195. You know, it's a bummer. It's going to take more work. It's going to take more time, but they should still get there. You know, the other thing is I don't know what the state of the mail is right now. So I would just say sit tight and expect delays, just being fully transparent and honest. It's getting crazy out there. You know, the post office is probably going to have their own issues here soon now that we're seeing like Amazon's going to have delays. So it is what it is. I'll have 40 of those Adepticon chips. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. If anyone wants them, I guess I can still give them out. I don't know. Maybe you can use those as your third operative chip or something. I don't know, but that's kind of unfortunate.
All right. We just have a slight. Might as well just continue talking there, Joe. We've been having. So I have this new update on Ecamm, and I've been having a little trouble toggling back to images. So I need to figure out, and I might actually technically have to restart this podcast. I'm not 100% sure. It does this weird thing on overlays, and I no longer can figure out how to go back. And I think it's in the new update. So I will just bear with me. So if you want to just go on to the next topic, Joe, we were just going to talk about after Adepticon. I think we were just going to talk about the FFG shipment stuff. So if I'll just leave it on this screen if you want to just continue on with that.
Yeah, sure. So FFG announced today that the AAT, which was supposed to be available at Adepticon, which obviously is not going to happen anymore. So they announced that the AAT, the Vital Assets expansion, Cassian, and Iden Versio are all going to be available on April 3rd at retail. Now, I'm not buying it. I'm just going to go on this little rant here. I'm absolutely not buying it. And I think that it was really stupid of them to make that announcement today because I think it's going to blow up in their face in 2 weeks when they can't obviously deliver. There's still people that haven't gotten their B2s. There's still people that haven't gotten their Phase 2s. There's still people that haven't gotten their Saber tanks. Why would you put a street date of April 3rd on 3 more products when you haven't even delivered the last wave of product and basically the whole country shutting down because of this COVID? I mean, when Amazon goes out and announces that all shipments are delayed until at least April 5th, why would you say that you're going to make shipments available on April 3rd? Does anyone really believe that that's going to happen with FFG's track record? I'm saying no. I'm saying that was really, really, really stupid. And I'm sure we'll get the announcement in a week or two that that's delayed, and then we'll all laugh and say, yeah, I'm not surprised. So that's my thoughts on that.
Awesome. All right. I also got us figured out, and I agree 100% on that. I just, even my local chat today, the announcement comes out. There's just a bunch of disappointment in there. We have a couple store owners who are in there. They're saying the same thing. Like they're almost being apologetic they're trying to apologize to their customers in terms of why we still don't have sabers. We have no sabers. We have no B2s. We have none of that. There's no announcements when we're getting that. So there's mounting frustration right now. And I mean, as a player of the game, as you know, I think we try to be kind of ambassadors for the game as well. It's really hard for me to tell people like, you know, just sit tight and wait, and because they, you know, they're seeing it everywhere, and seemingly it's there's certain areas that have no issues. Like you have access to, I think, everything except for AATs. Do you have AATs yet, or?
No, no one
Okay.
does.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, I'm fine with if no one has access to stuff. But the problem is when we have these trickle. We got a couple phase twos and not everyone got those, and we have nothing else. And then you tell us like last week, you guys, you have shelves full. So that's just frustration. And then when more things come out, people are like, that's cool, but I still don't even have the other thing. Where's that? I want that first. And I just hate to see the mounting frustration that people are experiencing. So,
I'm sure there's going to be some people that get that stuff on April 3rd, but I bet it's going to be a very small select group of people, and most people won't, because guess what? I don't even know if my game store is going to be open on April 3rd.
Right. Exactly.
I don't even know if my state is going to allow me to walk into a game store on April 3rd. Yep. So why would you bother like putting a date on it? It's like, it's almost like, oh, hey, we're trying to save face. We know people are upset about something that's out of our control. We'll just throw this out there, and then it'll just be really embarrassing when they don't come through, which is pretty much exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah.
But don't get your hopes up, people.
Daniel with a shout out in chat to all those FFG employees assembling AAT loaner tanks.
Yeah.
Fair. Don't make me bring. I'm doing it. There you go. I'm bringing up the Lend-Lease screen right here. Don't make us revisit this, because we'll do it.
I bet. I mean, anything that's like a stock that they had available. I'm guessing. Okay, this just basically is like a peek behind the curtain into, hey, we were gonna plan to have these available at Adepticon, right? Yeah. We were gonna have, if nothing bad happened, we were gonna surprise you at Adepticon with, hey, you could buy vital assets, Cassian and Iden. But that didn't happen. So now they've got a stock of that in hand that they're like ready to go with.
Yep.
But what FFG has is not what Alliance has necessarily, right? The distributor and the company itself are two different entities.
Yeah.
And when there's delays happening because like Alliance is shut down, I really just don't believe that street date whatsoever.
Right.
And when Amazon can't make that date, I don't think the smaller companies are going to make it.
Right.
We'll see.
As I said, in a few weeks' time, the world's just going to be asking Elon Musk for a loan, so he'll be bailing everybody out. So
take us to Mars. Yeah, there's no viruses there.
True. Okay, so two more things on our kind of like, and we got a lot of housekeeping here. You know, it's basically there's a lot of turmoil right now, so why not have an episode filled full of it? So, but just on a brighter note, I'm just going to bring this up. I don't usually talk too much about the Terrain Studio exclusively on Legion Academy here, but I did want to say this. So there's very little I can do in the course of the world to help coronavirus. But one of the things I did want to say is we know a lot of people are going to be home in the coming weeks and what have you, myself included. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm working on a Kashyyyk build right now in the Terrain Studio. There's several videos that they're for the patrons, but I put a pledge out to my patrons today just to ask them. The response I got back so far was positively for this. So what I'm going to do for the next month or so probably will end up being 6 or 7 videos. I'm going to do all my videos all free on the Kashyyyk build, so you'll miss the introductory part to the build, but you'll get at least the middle portion. So those will all be free for everyone. So I'll post them on Patreon, and then I'll post them on the appropriate Legion pages. And then I'm also going to do 2 or 3 just additional like general intro hobby videos, and then I'm also going to put those all up. So nothing behind paywalls, nothing behind Patreon, just something for you guys to watch, hobby, listen to while you're hobbying, poke fun of while you're hobbying, whatever you want to do with them. They'll be free. They're coming out, and just want to make a small contribution for people who are staying home in their own Death Star bunkers. So
Nice.
Yeah,
That's good.
so that
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, myself included, who are doing some painting, right?
yeah, it's just you can
It's a good
listen
time to hobby.
yeah, just listen
Yeah.
to me ramble on even more. So, and then just speaking of rambling on, if you want to listen to some stuff, we had a fun little event here on the weekend. We called it Skirmish Sunday, and we just left fights in there. Um, thanks, Chris. Yeah, it was really fun. We had the Coach and Industries table out, so the players got to muck about on that, just intermixing their hands and their figs as they wind between the industrial layout. Players really liked it. Of course, there's some finagly bits, but that can be truthful of any terrain. We had 8 guys here, had a blast. I played 2 games myself, and then we played a game after that we didn't stream. Everyone seemingly had a good time. Lots of people had never met each other before. We're kind of in 2 gaming groups, but they all had a good time mixing and playing some Legion, played some bunch of 500 skirmish. We had a bunch of Imperials, few E-webs out there. Vader was on the table, snowtroopers, bikes. We had a mixing. I had my tank out. ATST. So we really truthfully had a really good mix of everything. I think we had every faction was represented, even though we only had 8 guys. So that was super fun as well. So check that out. There is 3, videos up. You can just work your way through it. I would be remiss to need to give a shout out to Dave, Keith Schneed, Michael Hammond came on. Keith did 3 games, which was fantastic. He even did like 1 game remotely, I think, while he was waiting for dinner somewhere. So he like popped back in. So that was awesome. I mixed in there as well. Had a ton of people in chat just dropping in throughout the day. I know it was a long one. Mike's in chat right now saying that he was there and had a good time. So it was a ton of fun. We'll be back with Friday night fights this week. I have 2 players who have not been on there. One of them was at the event. One of them was not at the event, but gave a ringing endorsement for it. So that person's going to come out and hang out and play on we'll probably play on the same table just because it's set up right now. So yeah. So that's nice. Sunday skirmish. Kyle is saying in here he hadn't responded on the Patreon, but he thinks it's a great idea. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that, Kyle. And Mike confirming here that there was 2 clones, 1 droid, 1 rebel, and 4 Imperials. Thanks for that. Awesome. So
nice.
that
I gotta say that coaching table looks beautiful, man.
Yeah, it
looks awesome.
It was really weird because I finished it in August and haven't seen it since then. I created it. It's been sitting in my garage, and I hadn't opened it up. And then when I opened it up, I was like, oh yeah, like I visually know what it looks like, but just seeing it again it was weird because typically my builds, when I send them off, I rarely run into them again. Like at a Gen Con, I saw some of the world stuff again. I was like, oh, it's weird to run into something that you build. It's like selling a car and then like seeing it drive around everywhere. It's like, or building a car rather, and it's not something that I typically do. So it was fun to get it out. We had the lights working, showed up well on camera. It seemingly played well. It presented a nice challenge. So even though it was skirmish, it was like he really had to, because it has elevations. The players really had to work that into their game. So you and I go on and on about elevations in terrain and how we love it, how we like the different dynamic that it adds. So it was nice to see people. I've yet to play a game on it. I did not play on it in the event. So I've never played on it yet. I won't play it on this Friday, but potentially before I recreate it, I'd like to get at least 1 game on it, just to say I've done that, because I can't say I'll run into it again. So yeah. So that's all that.
Yeah,
so,
it looks good.
So we ripped through a ton of housekeeping here, and now let's talk some actual. Well, that was all Legion related, but let's talk some actual units in Legion here. All right. So taking the lead, I believe, was the title of the article. Again, full credit to FFG for the fantastic spread, and giving us the spread here of Iden Versio and ID10. Interesting. Just really hate that flight stand. Just gonna say that again. I said that before, but man, I am so changing that. So it's just too dominating. It's too
I
thick.
agree.
It's
strange.
There's
third party options. There's honestly plenty of third party options. You can even use a clear sprue.
Honestly, why don't you just do a black rod, like something that, or like a something that's, even a silver, like not silver, but like, metallic. So it's gonna like almost blend into any background and just be
Mhm.
like ID10 is floating. Like I just think that needs to happen. So
Yeah.
I mean, only criticizing the stand, not the model. I think the actual model is really cool. So, not much to say here. We've covered this before. Obviously, when we got the spread, there was that secret command card that we didn't know. We now know what it is, so we'll talk about that. A ton of upgrades in there. It looks like Hunter, Overwatch, offensive push is in there. Really, we're kind of interested in the two weapons, which we also can see in the next screen. So. I don't think there's too much to say here other than another cool model. Let me ask you this, Joe. Are you going to be a helmet or a head?
I'm gonna go helmetless.
Helmetless,
I
okay,
think
yep.
yeah. So we know we're getting Inferno Squad too, right?
Right,
So I'm assuming they're gonna come with options. I mean, why wouldn't they, right? They're
right.
doing it with the clones. They're doing it with her. They're doing it with everyone.
Yeah,
So I think I want some personality to my squad, and I think in the game she has her helmet off enough
okay,
where it makes sense. Like even on the
right.
box art, she doesn't have the helmet on. In fact,
Yeah,
I think she has the helmet off more often than she has it on in the game. So
okay. See, I don't know any game reference for her, so I was just listening to Inferno Squad, yeah, that's what it's called, the audiobook. You and I had talked about that
mhm.
before, so
Great
yeah.
book, by the way.
Yeah, it is
Great book.
quite interesting. So I'm not all the way through, but the backstory seemingly is pretty good, and I'm not sure how well that jives with the game, but I'm certain it's probably fairly well in line. But yeah, seems like an interesting character for sure. So
If I can remember, and it's been over a year since I played through that campaign. I did it like right when the game came out, but I believe the story starts. She's like a ground soldier on Endor, like right as the Death Star is blowing up.
oh, okay, that because that's where the book basically starts too. I,
Really?
yeah, I'm
No,
fairly
no.
certain. Yeah.
The book starts when Alderaan blows up,
Oh yeah, yeah, and
like in
she's
and
yeah,
she
the
veers off
debris. Yeah,
course.
yeah, fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
this is
correct.
like Return of the Jedi is
Yeah,
when the
yeah.
game starts. So the
Right.
game takes place after the book.
Yes, I was thinking
Yeah.
about the blowing up, and that's right. It is a planet, not the Death Star. But yeah, I just remember kind of like it. There's an explosion, and then she's scrambling to figure out where everybody is, kind of thing. So yeah, okay, yeah, you are correct. Here we just have just swap screens. Here we have the render here. So this is kind of in the version you were talking about.
Yeah.
With the head option, not the helmet option. Again, ID10 looks much better there. I love these renders. They're actually, I prefer these to the models just because it gives me more imagine. I can use my mind's eye to paint it, or
Mhm.
to see what it's going to look like colored up as opposed to the suggested color. So, but yeah, it's just it's interesting. And how do you feel about getting another commander for the Imperials?
I mean, I love it. She's 100 points,
Yeah.
right?
Do you,
And
do you,
she's the opposite of Veers and Krennic in that she is purely a combat focused commander slash
right.
operative, whereas those both feel like very support heavy.
Hmm.
She wants to get in the fight. She wants to, throw some dice. She's got really interesting keywords and a really, really strong gun
Yep.
and really interesting command cards. So I think it's very possible to run double commander like her and Veers or something.
Right.
But what immediately came to mind is I was thinking this. I was like, Bosk is an interesting choice in a Palpatine list, as some people have shown some success with pull the strings on Bosk, and
Right.
Iden's actually cheaper.
Hmm.
So I wonder if Iden is like a really interesting pull the strings target. And we can get into that more
Yeah.
when we get into cards and stuff, but
For
I
sure.
yeah,
I,
I like her. I think she's gonna be awesome.
if I can just parallel her with a Cassian who we covered last week, I feel that with Cassian, I feel more people might go the operative route with him, and with
Hmm.
Iden, I feel more people are going to go the commander route with her. Even though You know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's gonna. I think we need to wait and see what the Inferno Squad actually does.
True. Yeah, I guess I'm going without the
But
consideration of that right now. I'm just kind of,
right, but I
just
I
speculating.
do like I do like the idea of giving infiltrate to an Imperial unit,
Yep.
especially one that rolls red saves. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, no, I know it's gonna be good. The only thing about her as a commander, she doesn't have a command slot.
Right.
So I don't like her as a single commander, man. I like her as I like her as an operative or as something else because I really think aggressive tactics is like one of the most mandatory things to put in almost every Empire list right now, and she
Right.
can't take it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
mm,
so Kyle's going down my thought path right here, and also Joe makes a good point. I
right.
don't envision Iden being a single command. Like I'm definitely seeing her paired with another one, but what he's
Yeah,
pointing
yeah.
out is that Courage 3 command bubble is nice.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
so yeah, again, Cassian
Again,
and Iden,
I-
tons of
yeah,
flavor, tons of directions you can take both of these.
right. Yeah.
And I think we're seeing a versatility that we perhaps haven't seen in some earlier characters, which again, I'm all for that direction.
Mhm.
All right, before we jump
Yeah, when
into, go ahead.
she drops, I think you pretty much go Veer Ziden or
Mm,
something.
yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a backline commander and a frontline commander. I'm all for that
Mhm.
too. That
And
extends it.
just
That
give. I mean, giving her aim tokens is really nice too, right? We'll see
yep.
in a minute. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'll rip down Iden's stat card, and then we can get into all the nasty ways Joe's going to tell us how to use Iden. So 100 points. We've kind of covered that off. So she is 6 health, which again is a little bit more than we see in some Imperial commanders. 3 courage, we've covered that. Surge up,
Mhm.
so offensive surge. It'll be to hit. Red defense
Mhm.
dice. Quick thinking, always love that. Quick thinking is one of the best actions I think in the game. Anytime you can get an action, 2 actions for one, I think it's a great economic advantage there. So
It's
one,
particularly in combination with Nimble, which is also on her card, right?
absolutely. So forget
So
about
probably
surge.
want to
For
quick thinking a lot. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
we know what Nimble does on characters. We know what it does in units. I mean, Sabine's Nimble just makes Sabine outrageous. I think Nimble on red dice is always awesome. Covert Ops, we've talked about this with Cassian, so the ability to treat as an operative rank, and if you do gaining infiltrate, obviously you swap out the command token when you do that. Loadout, we've also seen that. We've talked about that last week, and the ability to kind of set aside and take some maybe key cards, but let's say versatility within the loadout that you take for Iden. So again, who are you facing? What role is Iden going to be in? Again, more versatility with loadout for sure. Marksman, which I think is another really key keyword, I guess, if you want to say that. So while attacking, you can spend an aim token to improve attack dice results. Always great on Pierce guns. Throw that hit. You got that surge. So it's surge or hit, spend the aim, which you probably get from quick thinking, which you're probably going to use very often. Make that go to a crit, guarantee that hit going through with Pierce, which is very nice. Speed 2, no
Mhm.
surprises there. Range 1 to 3, always fine. I like commanders with range 1 to 3. Don't feel like I need to overextend. Obviously, we've kind of talked about Iden maybe being more frontline, so 1 to 2 probably wouldn't have been terrible for her. But 1 to 3 is always nice. Kind of play that mid range game for sure. And then in combat, 2 red dice if you're going to engage her. Anything
Mhm.
special there, Joe? I mean, we've covered a lot of those keywords last week, but we've just talked about specific combinations, nimble with quick thinking. I can see lots of
Yeah.
combinations, and nimble, for that matter, quick thinking with marksman. So one action
Yeah.
that interacts with 2.
Her base profile is fine. It's
Yep.
good. It's okay. It's particularly good when you start looking at putting upgrades on her and also
Yep.
like her her weapon slot.
Yeah.
Right? That's where she really gets flavorful, I think.
Yeah, you might think the base profile of 3 white is nothing to be over ecstatic about. The Pierce is nice. I always like to see that, specifically when you have ways to manipulate into positive results. But I think your Joe's right. When we get to the weapons, when we get to the upgrade screen, that'll be key for sure. So let's just slide over to ID 10 Seeker Droid. So again, this is a unit that is going to have not its own token, but coupled
Right.
with
Yes.
her, a counterpart, if you will.
Yeah, the difference between the Seeker Droid versus K2, like we saw last week, was that this has the counterpart keyword as opposed to detachment. So it's essentially an upgrade that goes into Iden's activation. So Iden's now running as a 2-man squad,
Yeah,
not a separate activation.
It's the equivalent of a C3PO, basically, is what we're looking at here.
Exactly.
So 15 points, so very similar in that regard as well. Recharge, so 1 health, so not the 2 like we've seen in C3PO, but recharge 1. So when you recover, flip 1 inactive shield token, so indicating that there is a shield here.
It's the same keyword that Sabine has on her shield.
Right, and you have a shield token. So it's really a shield plus a health here. So
yeah, it's basically turning Iden into 7 to 8 effective health.
Which
That's the whole.
Yeah. Then when you talk about nimble and red dice, it becomes infinitely better.
Right. This is very much, in my opinion, worth the 15 points.
For sure. I mean, what is Sabine's shield? It's 10 points for the shield, or is it 5?
I think it's 10.
Yeah, I think it's 10. So really, if you think about that, and that is, an action to recover, correct?
Yeah, just like this.
Yeah. But the nice thing here is that ID 10, unlike the just shielded token, has an offensive output.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so he's got a range 1's 3 white suppressive weapon. So if you happen to get Iden into range 1, or maybe melee, I don't know, it's obscured by that card.
Obscured, yeah.
You just get to throw 3 more dice into her dice pool. That's not bad.
And we see the keyword small, which we did cover in the IRG or the RRG. And so here we're seeing that while defending, when determining line of sight, cover, and range, ignore this mini. So again, going back to the flight stand question, wouldn't matter if your flight stand was slightly taller or shorter. In this case, the model is not regarded for any of those things. So I think that's cool.
This is kind of weird. So it's, in my opinion, it's like it makes her a little bit worse than R2 and C3PO. So the difference between Iden with her droid versus R2 and C3PO is like you can have R2 in front of a barricade and then you can have C3PO behind the barricade, and because it's a 2-man squad, they just have cover. Or you can put C3PO or R2 around a corner and keep the other one hidden behind a building, and they'll just have heavy cover. Whereas this Seeker droid, you treat it like it's basically not even there.
Right.
So it's just basically a floating shield for Iden that doesn't really... It occupies a physical space, so you can do things like block little areas or something with its base, but it doesn't actually... You can't use it to keep you in cover even when you're pushed ahead of that source of cover or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not as cool, I think, as if it were an actual model, but also it can't really... I don't think you can scope it out or something.
Right. No, because it says right here, when determining line of sight, cover, and range. So let me ask you this. Let's go into the minds of the developer. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I think it's just
flavorful?
so you can't... Well, yeah, it's flavorful because it is tiny. But I think it's also so you can't deliberately cheese Iden and give her cover when she's not really supposed to have cover.
Right, right.
Like she's supposed to be a single model, right?
Right. I think one thing where you don't lose in like there's no disadvantageous position of having this there is that that ID10 like doesn't you don't require any sort of range extension for like an interaction. So you know how you have like calculate odds with C3PO and R2. So you kind of have like a range band that you're kind of like working around when you're interacting with other units.
Right.
I think with ID10 because there's seemingly no interaction with adjacent units that it's not really a consideration for where you place this model. You're not trying to worry about coherency or things like that. I'm sure it needs to be placed in coherency. I'm not saying it doesn't.
It does.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's not really a consideration to be making. So when you're doing that, if you accidentally were to place this unit in a disadvantageous position, it's also on the same time not giving you away.
Right.
So,
But that has different effects for friendlies too. Like
totally.
Yeah, if you put this ahead of you, your opponent can't shoot you at range 3 by targeting the droid that's ahead of you.
Yep.
Right? But also like if you want to medic heal Iden, you can't I don't think you can target the droid. I don't think you can like put the droid's speed 1 to the right of Iden to gain an extent. Maybe I don't know.
Well, it says and range, yeah. So I'm thinking
I'm assuming that's a no.
I think seemingly they didn't want to create. Again, we're just speculating here. Seemingly didn't want to create any specific advantages, as you said, gaminess around the unit. At the same time, the unit effectively occupies no physical space other than the base. So that is one consideration that you need to make. I don't think you can't overlap or be placed on that. But that's
you can
basically
probably move into melee with the base of the droid. And start a melee.
Yeah, because it just says, well, it just says while defending, though, as well. So you would defend in a melee, I believe, as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird one. But I'll say this, like, in the game, right, the droid sits on Iden's back 98% of the time.
Do you think, and again, we don't see the whole model, do you think that was a missed opportunity to potentially model a backpack version of this droid as well? Like, or a folded up version?
Man, I would have preferred it.
Yeah.
I honestly
or just as an add-on.
Yeah. It has gameplay implications, though, to, like, take this as, as an actual upgrade. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I definitely would have liked to have, like, been able to not pay the points for it and then just had it sitting on her back because it's almost always sitting on her back throughout the whole course of the game. But it's all right. It's cool.
So I'm going to go back to my first question that I asked you when I asked you about head versus helmet. What you actually meant is now you're going to get one head, one helmet, and then you're going to have one ID10 on a stand and one ID10 modeled for the backpack version.
I mean, you could.
Kyle's pointing out missed opportunity for sure. You're welcome, FFG. Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, come on.
Coming to you in 6 months.
They did say on the stream that this model is only 3 pieces.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's finally something easy to assemble.
Yeah, each of ID10's legs are separate.
No, I guess it's the like half of the legs, the other half of the legs form like a C and a C. You put them together to make a cylinder, and then you slide the head on top. Fair. Basically, is what they were saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Remains to be seen.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've covered off most of that and just kind of speculated a little bit around small. I was waiting for that keyword to drop because I was curious. I was hoping it was Baby Yoda, but I guess it's ID10. Whatever. Speaking of Baby Yoda, I cannot wait to show you the saber with Baby Yoda as the co-pilot. So,
man, the internet finally got over Baby Yoda, and then we started talking about the virus.
Yeah, fair.
Can't get enough.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. Okay, so here we again just same cards, redundant. We're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is the upgrades. So let's start in on those. So here we have Iden's DLT 20A rifle, 1 to infinite. Love it. By the way, love the art on this card. Really digging that. 2 black, Iden Versio only, high velocity. Everyone knows what that is. Can't spend the dodges. And Pierce 1.
Yep.
15 points. That's a cheap DLT.
Well, I mean, you're gonna pay these 15 points.
You are, of course.
You just bake this cost into the price of Iden.
Yeah.
I almost don't even think they needed to be separate, but it's because even the other side of this card is so good too that I just really don't see anyone playing Iden without him. But yeah, let's talk about this first. So right off the bat, better sniper for 2 reasons. 1, it's infinite range again.
Yep.
Not range 5. 2, it's 2 blacks with surge as opposed to the typical Imperial snipers, which are 2 blacks without surge. So way more consistent. And then when you combine that with marksman, if you see paint, if you see any sort of paint, you can just auto turn one into a crit by spending an aim. So I'm thinking if you're sniping, you're probably just gonna stay in heavy cover and quick thinking and then shoot and use your aim to force 1 crit and then pierce.
Let me go back to your earlier combo. Veers, spotter, quick thinking, potentially a nice way to get 2 crits going through there. High velocity, you're piercing 1, forcing a roll on the other. Really liking the potential for Iden to put out 2 crits at a fairly consistent clip.
And Iden has to put out 2 crits most likely to force 2 saves because she doesn't have sharpshooter.
Yes, right. You know what? I'm okay with the ability to likely generate those with marksman. So I can probably live without sharpshooter.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see her losing actions too often because she's courage 3.
Right.
So she's probably going to quick thinking and then shoot. And then, yeah, like you said, if you have other ways to get an aim, for sure. She's going to be doing 1 damage at least every time she shoots with this gun.
Is it a little bit of a feels bad that this is a 15-point DLT versus like, you know, the cost of other DLTs in the game? Like I'm just trying to, I think you're.
Well,
yeah, it's just.
I don't know if that's how the points work. I mean, it's.
You're
putting it on a 100-point model, not a 40.
Agreed. But I would have maybe potentially, like you said, see this baked right in.
Yeah.
Where this is the weapon, but yeah. Well, let's jump onto the other side of this one. So this is the TL50 repeater. Just seems good, and then whenever I see 5 dice in any pool, I just love it.
I love this gun in the game, but it's I think they've represented its dice pool perfectly when you compare it to what it does in the game.
It's like I'm just gonna throw this casual better rotary cannon.
Oh, that thing just sprays beams that just are explosive, like at an extremely high rate of fire. So that's like super accurate. That dice pool, like I'm like, yeah, that's the right dice pool for that gun. It's pretty awesome. Range 3, right? So I think there's potential to, like I said with Cassian as well, deploy her as a sniper and maybe use Veers' 3-pip at some point to make her recover and switch to this gun and close in on an objective. The other thing I think this combos really nicely with is offensive push.
Yeah.
Right. Like getting her an aim while she moves. So like it's like if you start in cover with the sniper rifle and you quick thinking shoot for like the first 2 rounds, and then eventually it's hitting round 3, round 4 of the game. People are converging on objectives, key positions, moisture evaporators. If you place them aggressively, intercept the transmission points like in the center, and you play the recover card. You give her or you don't even need to necessarily. You can just you just move her towards stuff and fire with this gun. The only thing I don't like about this gun is that it doesn't pierce.
Right.
So
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big dice pool. It's got critical 1. It's gonna force some saves. It's pretty efficient. but it doesn't pierce, right? So you can still just roll defensive saves and like have it do nothing.
It doesn't pierce, and again, sharpshooter is going to kick in here as well, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So you're banking on your critical and your lots of dice to overcome that cover, but it's I don't know. I mean, maybe sticking with the DLT is better. The other thing about the DLT, can we look at that card for 1 second again? I just want to show something here on her DLT card.
Yep. Let me just go here and here.
So notice what this doesn't have that Cassian has. This doesn't have cumbersome.
Right.
She's not penalized for move shooting with this gun.
Correct.
Cassian is. So you might not even need to use the repeater.
Well, Kyle's pointing out here in chat, he doesn't think this is a config weapon. Right? So he's saying that potentially you actually just have to pick one or the other.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Possibly. Well, if that's the case, that kind of changes things completely.
Yeah, I think you just, again, but can you, okay, but then does this become something where you have this in loadout?
Oh, definitely. Maybe that's the design of it, right? Like that by design.
Yeah, so it's like what
loadout.
This table here is great sniper position. I'm gonna go sniper config, but I'm deciding at the game, and that's Iden's role for this game.
Right, or like I'm gonna infiltrate Iden, so I'm gonna start her halfway up the board, so I might as well drop her with the range 3 weapon.
Yeah.
Now she's more of like an assault piece.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and that's probably actually true. I probably have it wrong. But yeah, no,
maybe too good for 15 points with the config option. So
yeah,
now I just am angry.
I'm not. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's interesting. Man, I don't know which one I like better.
I think I like this one better.
You like the sniper better?
Yeah, it's really hard to give up Pierce. I mean, I get there's critical and the impact. I guess you could decide early if you're going to feel that you're going to need to throw those crits. But again, I think you could throw the crits at infinite range here using marksman just as well.
Yeah, I like the idea of basically guaranteeing a wound every time I shoot, as opposed to I'm going to throw 5 dice, 2 are going to bounce off your cover, you're going to roll 3 saves, and oh look, you are clone troopers with a surge token and you just blocked all 3.
Right.
Whereas this is like, I'm going to do a wound every time I shoot. I'm doing 6 wounds for free.
Yeah. Potentially multiple wounds a turn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think I like that one better. So.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that.
Nothing.
That it's not a config. Yeah. That kind of changes it for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing to scoff at. This dice pool seems very potent, and obviously if you're rolling surges, you're going to convert those to hits, 1 to crit. So there is a higher ceiling here for sure. And maybe if you're up close and personal, then there's a little bit more ability to negate cover, that sort of stuff. But I just think that because you usually start at range, I think I want to start shooting without having to force an infiltrate just to get kind of that close range early game. Because, I mean, that could cost you too. So I always like being able to shoot off the first turn. I love it. So anytime I can get range 4, or in this case, longer range shots, I'll take them.
Yeah, and if you play her like Bosk in a Palpatine list, you basically just throw the sniper rifle and hunter on her. And then she's gonna quick thinking shoot at a multi wound target, and then Palpatine is gonna pull the strings and she's gonna shoot with an aim.
Oh, so bad. Yeah, no, that's
nasty.
It totally is, and it's like there's not you may or may not need to be spending those aims on marksman. If you happen to roll any natty crits, or there's potential to put out a lot of damage with her, and even just shooting twice a turn, as you said, very nasty for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, you love shooting twice with snipers as is. If you can shoot twice with a better sniper, why not?
Right.
For sure. Okay, well let's crack on. We're about an hour 11 in here, so we want to get to the command cards. This will take us up, another probably take us to the end of the episode. But let's. She's got some interesting ones. So
Yeah.
like with Cassian, we're gonna start with the 1 pip. This one I believe was the first one that was spoiled, so we don't need to spend too much time on this one, but we will. Pulse scan here, Iden Versio only. Speaking of sharpshooter, Iden Versio gains sharpshooter 2 and 1 aim token. There's your Palpatine, pull the strings, double tap, sharpshooter, marksman, all the aims, brutal. And at the end of the activation, she gains 1 dodge token and 1 standby token.
See, to me, this is like, you got to pay the points for Overwatch.
Yeah.
And you just make this card amazing. Or, like, Overwatch should definitely be in your loadout somewhere.
Do you like this as an alpha strike potentially too?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and in which case you'll go Overwatch. So Overwatch is going to give you what range on this? 4? Because your 3.
Yeah, it's because every standby is always
range 2. Yeah, geez, what am I thinking about?
Overwatch just gives you range 3.
Yeah, I was thinking one more onto the range, but yeah, it's not. That's not what I'm literally having too much Rex cards in my head, so I'm thinking about the add one to the range. But yeah, so still though, all right, let's just shoot this. Let's pull the strings on this. Let's just set up the standby on this. Lots of things you can do here. So I guess you technically probably have to go the pull the strings first, because if you shot with the standby token, you lose the ability to have that standby token. So
correct. Yeah. Or you can even exactly. Like you don't want to like lose your standby for no reason. So you would pull the string, shoot, and then you would activate her and shoot and then
get standby. And potentially shoot again. That seems
right. So if anything nasty. Walks into range 3, it's gonna get shot again. It's actually really good with her repeater too. Like it's super interesting with that as well.
I think it's
important. Sharpshooter 2 on the 5 dice pool is a lot better, right?
It is. Yeah. I guess you're gonna have to figure out what's gonna pay larger dividends over the course of the turn. If you're gonna play this as a turn 1 play, then obviously it's going the range 3 weapon's probably not going to kick in, so it may not be something that you're playing turn 1. I think another important point to point out here, though, just in that sort of sequence that we just said, sharpshooter 2 she gains for the turn, so even on a pull the strings turn, sharpshooter 2 would still apply, even though it's not her activation. So that's important, because gaining it for the turn.
Yep.
So that's a really important distinction. Jacob is pointing out here, she can take offensive push and get 4 aims off tactical 2. 2 moves plus steady makes 2 auto crits. That's fair.
Yeah, that's like her 3 pip, right? We'll get into that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, again, I think these cards will probably generally convince me even more that I feel better with the sniper rifle option for her. But not to discount the repeater rifle dice pool for sure, or repeater gun, whatever it's called. I'm not sure if it's a rifle or not. But anything more about that 1 pip, Joe, other than the fact that it's really good?
I really like it. Yeah, no, it's good.
I mean, quick thinking with 2 dodges and a shield token feels quite defensive as well. Counter. It's not necessarily counter sniper, because high velocity for sure will get you around those dodges, but doesn't get you around the shield, I guess. So right. Yeah, I think anytime you can have red dice with a couple dodges seems good to me. Keith is jumping off. We'll see you next time, Keith. Thanks for stopping in. Take it easy,
Keith. Yeah, no, this is really interesting. I just love all the ways that you can combo this with your loadout, right? Yeah. And just decide, how am I what's gonna be my big bursty play? Do I want to take offensive push? Do I want to take Overwatch? Am I gonna drop? Which gun am I gonna drop her with? Yeah, all that stuff.
I mean, we mentioned Palpatine here for the pull the strings action, but again, going back to your Bosk idea, still feels pretty good if Iden's shooting and potentially with a second shot with a standby. then maybe you follow it up with a reptilian rampage the next
Well,
turn. It's like,
for a bounty, for like a
jeez,
really
for sure.
easily
Yeah.
grabbed bounty. I was thinking the same thing too. I was like, man, even if you don't put her in like a Palpatine list, you can put her in a Veers Bosk or a Krennic Bosk list. Actually, she has the potential. If you take her with Overwatch with Krennic, she has the potential to set up huge area denial standby traps like multiple turns.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
super
deploy the garrison. Yeah,
Yes.
really, really nice. Yeah.
Right, and deploy the garrison wins priority with cunning. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
For
I
sure.
like it.
Then even there's tons of stuff. I was just thinking compel with her, just if you ever kind of lost the action and have to take the compel, you're still going to trigger multiple things if you haven't triggered offensive push yet.
Her as a commander giving a courage 3 bubble and a compel army,
Yeah.
pretty nasty.
Yep. It's very crazy. Jacob pointing out
Because you're not panicking until you're at 6.
Yeah. Feels good.
Yeah.
All right, well, speaking of feels good, let's drop the 2 pip here. Concussive Blast. It never feel good after that. Iden Versio only as well. When Iden Versio activates, she recovers. Bonus, there's your offensive push. You're getting that back. There's your shielded. You're getting that back. There's all kinds of options here. During Iden Versio's activation, she gains the following weapons. Seems pretty good. 1 to 2 blast, scatter, suppressive, 5 red dice.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. I mean, if you're gonna drop her, if you're gonna play her as a sniper for most of the game, that you probably can even cut this card out of your hand.
This is exactly what I'm thinking. This almost is seemingly a trap to maybe overextend her if you've set her up to play as a backline unit. So I mean, not to get lulled into the 5 red dice, but let's not kid ourselves. A sharpshooter 2 double black that you can easily convert to 2 crits still potentially could have an offensive output higher than this if you can't spend dodge tokens on the high velocity.
Right, but
this is blast.
I mean, suppressive and blast and scatter. So
for sure,
this is why Iden is so flexible and awesome, and this is why I really like her. Scatter on her has a lot of interesting potential because you can scatter into standby traps that you set with other units. You can also scatter into like range of Darth Vader being able to do something. Combos nicely with the commander and operative version of Vader, who always loves scatter because it just pushes things closer to him.
Yep.
So there's a lot of ways to make use of this, I think. It's just going to take some time to figure out what those are. But it's a nice tool. I mean, hey, the Empire right now doesn't have access to the most amazing 2-pips, especially if you're taking Veers, right? So this is always like an option you can keep in your back pocket. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's a 2-pip that only issues orders to Iden.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. It's like potentially you could overextend here and then be really left with a boatload of activation issues. Depends what else you have coupled in the list. If you got, maybe you have Krennic in your list as well, so maybe there's a little bit of, with Entourage, there's a little bit of potential control there. Could have a comms relay off those Death Troopers. Maybe that helps you out. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But there is potential that this could be an all for one play. I mean, if it pans out, whatever your play is, great.
It seems like a good late game play after you've spent your 1-pips. And your opponent's probably spent their 1-pips. If Iden's still around, we're playing key positions. Probably going to blast you off of the objective. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, potentially. Takes an action away.
Right. So I mean, it's going to have its uses for sure. But I don't see it being stapled into every single list that you take Iden in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's, if all 3 cards are seemingly like no-brainers to take, then I think that illusion of like, oh, I wonder what my opponent has. They got these commanders, And if it's absolute no brainers, then there's not really any guesswork. That's one of the things I really liked both about the Rebels and hate playing against Rebels, is because there's so much versatility and options there. So I'm always kind of guessing and sort of wondering. I like that part of the game. So seeing, maybe you could maybe guess if, it's a sniper version of Iden, potentially they haven't taken the 2-pip, but you could get surprised too, right? And then maybe Iden starts moving up late game, and then maybe it starts you thinking about, is concussive blast coming out here? Like there's a little bit of guesswork, so I'm okay that it's not just a no brainer to take in my opinion. But so I kind of like that aspect of the game. There's lots of 1-pips and 3-pips where you're like, yeah, they probably have that. It's in like every single list. But I'm okay to have that middle one to have a bit more of a choice to be made, if you will. So on the topic of 3-pip, kind of goes the opposite here for control. It's Iden Versio and 3 troops, so very good control with this one. Tactical Strike is the name of the card when Iden Versio or a friendly Special Forces unit that has a face-up order token activates. It may reduce its maximum speed to 1. If it does, it gains steady and tactical 1. I wonder if this is maximum speed to a minimum of 1, because it doesn't say that there.
It literally just makes you have to go speed 1.
Okay,
it turns you into snowtroopers.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe there's not a special forces that only has a speed 1. I was just thinking out loud, because it doesn't say to a minimum of 1 here. So I guess currently I don't think there's any special forces with a speed 1, is there, that you can think of?
I
don't think so. No.
So it's just, hey, you're snowtroopers for a turn and you get 2 aims.
Yeah, you go.
I like this because I think this is amazing on Death Troopers, right? And because you can do something like hide behind a building, spin out, double move, get 2 aims, and shoot with a Death Trooper, or pop out around a corner, shoot with an aim, pop back behind the corner. Just the snowtrooper trick, but you can do that now with range 4 weapons.
Yeah, with range 4 Death Troopers seems good.
Right.
Fantastic.
And still get them that aim that they want. You can. This actually makes Royal Guards cool for sure. Especially when we were talking about putting Iden into a Palpatine list. I personally think Royal Guards get stapled into a Palpatine list. Because you're just paying points for that entourage keyword, and if you're not using them, you're just kind of giving up what Palpatine's kind of designed to do and synergize with. So giving them access to steady and tactical 1 is also really cool, especially because it says face-up order token. So if you pull the strings on your Royal Guards that turn, they're still going to get steady and tactical 1. Then when they activate, they're going to get it as well, because you're not flipping their order token over. So that's like a crazy combo.
Yeah.
And also what I think this is the first time I've ever seen something in this game where I've thought to myself, hey, this makes full Scout Trooper squads seem a little bit more interesting. I don't know if it makes them like super good, because they're honestly pretty bad right now. But this definitely goes like it's a step in a direction that helps make them a little better.
Right.
Like if they can double move and shoot at range 2 with Sharpshooter 1, their sniper rifle that's Pierce 1, and then since they don't surge, maybe they get a surge token from aggressive tactics because they have a face-up order, and maybe actually, I don't know. I don't think you can get aggressive tactics to work because Iden can't take it, and this is her card. But So with that aside, still 2 aims on a bunch of black dice is like pretty interesting. So I like this card a lot.
I like it for another reason too. A lot of big play cards typically will telegraph the play. And so you can wait it out, you can out-activate it, you can, sort of play around it. With this one right here, because you're issuing to 3 troopers, or Iden herself can use the ability, there's less of an ability to know exactly when this is going to spring.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit more difficult to play around that. So I like that. You don't have to go early with it because you have potentially 4 potential targets for this this ability. And I like that because oftentimes I'll play around things like, oh, Bosk's lying in wait. Okay, well, I know that's going to come eventually, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to play around Bosk. Bosk is the locus of that. That's where it's coming from. With this one right here, there's all kinds of options. And is it the snow troopers? Is it the death troopers? Is it Iden herself? Is it scout troopers? Like, I mean, obviously, within reason, you're going to have to figure out what the special forces are, but it's not singularly focused on one particular unit. So I do like that.
And let's be honest, the art on the card has the Inferno Squad on it.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen what they are yet, but I'm guessing this card is going to combo really nicely with them.
Probably.
Right?
And
they're on the card. Like,
I mean,
just say it.
the cards don't lie. Fair. And they're blowing stuff up in the cards, so maybe that's what they do in the game. Who knows?
Alpha
All right.
Strike,
Well, yeah, fair enough. All right, we got one more. And then we're right up to time. So, and this one here is Incapacitate. This is an Iden's ID10 Seeker Droid, a 2-pip, unlike K2SO's 3-pip. So two pips in the package here. So seeing a little trend with the 1 additional command card, the 4-card pack, if you will. This one is Iden Versio only, again. So I'll really command card focus on her, which I'm okay with. You know, it's not every pack's going to have a ton of versatility in issuing. It says here that during Iden Versio's activation, you may choose an enemy trooper unit at range 1 and in line of sight of ID10's Seeker Droid. So, going back to our earlier conversation, there is a purpose of the droid, and if you go back to small keyword, it's defending when determining line of sight, cover, and range. It doesn't say, I guess, wait, actually, it does say that. Isn't that contradictory? I didn't think it actually said line of sight. Anyway, whatever. This says, and in line of sight of ID10 Seeker Droid, that unit gains 3 suppression tokens. Then, if it is a core unit, that unit, and the unit has not activated this round, assign it a face down order token from its order pool or flip its order token face down. Love it.
I just think this... Okay, so we talked about Concussive Blast.
Yeah.
This is just a different option for her 2-pip slot.
Mm-hmm.
That
better.
It's a well, it's not necessarily better because it requires range 1. So how often is Iden going to be in range 1? Probably more often if she infiltrates.
Yeah.
But pretty much never if you're playing her as a sniper. But man, 3 suppression that just happens for free during your activation before you even shoot.
And
right?
you just don't go.
Well, right? Yeah, if you're a core unit, right. But I see this as like a really insane way to like suppress out death troopers. If you're a core unit for sure, like it's a great way to shut down shore troopers for a turn.
I'm just trying to shut off some like phase 2s or phase 1 fire support units or any of that stuff. Yeah, right. Sorry, phase 2.
The problem is, how did you get into range 1?
I mean, you have I mean, it's not impossible. Like you can obviously maneuver, and it's definitely something where you're gonna want to like pop out. I don't even know if you feel bad about just maybe double moving off this, and maybe you forego shooting to get that play off. If you forego shooting and you pop out, and the unit just can't simply shoot you back at all, and you've just handed it 3 suppression and said you're not going this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the fear of reprisals.
No, it's cool. I think, hey, in order to get this play to work, Iden probably dies. That's because I'm like, if you're going up against a gun line, like an Empire gun line, you're almost never going to get this off. Because you're like, okay, you shut 1 shore trooper down, now the rest of my army just lights you up.
I guess maybe if you go late with Iden, though. I mean, I think there's potential. I'm sure we'll see lots of great plays with it. I'm still a little confused about this, though. So you choose an enemy trooper unit at range 1 and in line of sight of Iden versus Seeker Droid. And then on small keyword is while defending and when determining line of sight, cover, and range, ignore this mini.
Right.
So you're using it for the purposes of the line of sight for this particular card, but you are ignoring it for all other purposes. It just to me, it's strange.
It's specific to when defending on the card, and this is not.
I don't think is it?
It literally says while defending.
And I guess it doesn't say and when.
It
Yeah,
just
I
says
guess
while defending.
It's just stupid syntax. It's just dumb.
It just means you can't put your Seeker Droid behind a building and put Iden out in the open because the Seeker Droid is the one actually doing the stun. That's it. You know, like.
But I guess you could. Okay. But how about this, though? Why can't you? Why can't Iden be behind the wall and the Seeker Droid is actually the one that is extended in coherency?
You could do that because the Seeker Droid can see.
Right. Well, then in that case, Iden may not even be able to take a shot back. Going back to our previous statement where Iden's just dead, if Iden's able to stay in just a piece of line of sight blocking terrain.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do the play where you're like, I'm behind a building. I do a speed 2 move. Then I do this free action. Then I do a speed 2 move back where I was.
Right.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
That's a big investment, I think, for like one gimmick. I think this has like a more interesting effect on like turn 5 of key positions when you put 3 suppression on something and potentially panic it off the objective.
Jacob points out here that maybe you just move her into melee. Can't be shot then.
Yeah, you could do that.
What does it preclude? I guess it's just straight up says they don't go, so you could just actually move into melee, and then just if you're moving into melee with a core unit, then just say you're not fighting me this turn.
Dude, you know what I think is even cooler though? The suppressive weapon on the Seeker Droid, so you can do 5 suppression.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think what's more interesting is like move into range 1, shoot with your dice pool, which will be like 6 whites pierce 1, assuming you have no weapon, or if you do have a weapon, it's at least 3 whites and suppressive, plus 3 more suppression.
And
I said, it's a really interesting way to like panic pretty much anything.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's cool,
including a rebel commander.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So there's some interesting plays with this for sure.
Yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it doesn't win priority against Luke for like Son of Skywalker, but if you can like close in on Luke, you could just put 5 suppression on him.
Yeah, here you go. This is gonna slow you down.
Right. Yeah. No, that's cool. Or Sabine for sure. Like it could panic Sabine. Yeah, man. It's cool. I'll put it in my hand. You know, yeah. I think to me it's more interesting than Concussive Blast. It fills that 2-pip slot that's like not great in a Veer's list.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And I mean, again, anything that can offer you potential to go from you are fine to you are panic, and or you just aren't going this turn. You know, if you need to get up, on activations or control that, or if there's a core unit in a really strong place, or maybe they've been pestering you with a lot of standby shenanigans. Who knows? Mm-hmm. There's lots of ways that this could be, and I like the idea that Iden can potentially remain in safety while you just send out the Seeker Droid to get killed. Now, in retrospect, as what you said before, I'm pretty sure the Seeker Droid's dead, but.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is that it is counterpart, so you can soak 2 damage onto the Seeker Droid and kill it. And then it's like, okay, it got its little 2-pip play off. All right. There goes my shield. I still have 6 health.
I guess, so let's say Iden is completely out of line of sight, and you do this play. If you can't see Iden, you can't target the Seeker Droid then as well. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I guess maybe you could save the Seeker Droid in this case again. Just being completely out of line of sight. Maybe, yeah. No, I think there's more plays with At first I was thinking, oh well, that's just going to be a sacrifice of that, but like late game it doesn't really matter. But in this case, I think you may be able to potentially manipulate this as well, where you're not even taking any shots at all.
Yeah.
This has got some interesting.
All I'm
Yeah.
all I'm saying is, for me, I'm just gonna staple the Seeker Droid to Iden.
Yep.
Like, I don't see a reason not to pay 15 more points to make her 8 health instead of 6. Between the shield and the one free wound that you can dish off. That's what I'm saying. To me, that seems worth 50. I don't know. I mean, emergency stims is 12, so I mean, I guess technically you can take both, right? She has a gear slot.
I mean, okay, corner case, but walk me through this. If you were to infiltrate, right, you're at range 3.
Yeah.
Could you double move?
Mm-hmm.
You're at command, you're at coherency with the Seeker Droid. So range 1 would be measured from Seeker Droid.
Oh, range 1 is still measured from Iden.
I thought it said here unit at range 1 and in line of sight of ID 10 Seeker Droid.
Oh.
On the command card.
Yeah, that's weird because that's probably right.
So what I'm getting at is now you potentially could be at range 1 of a unit, give it 3 suppression, and straight up eliminate it from going in the first turn. It doesn't go. It starts the turn. It ends the turn with 3 suppression, starts the next turn with 2. Yeah.
And then you just feed your Iden to your opponent.
Well, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't know about that. What I think if you're maybe not playing smart, you could do that. But I'm just thinking the next turn you could easily you could give it actually 5 suppression because you could do. Oh no, you wouldn't be able to shoot that turn. But the next turn you could definitely shoot it with a suppressive weapon, go early, whatever you want. I'm just thinking that there's lots of ways to start a unit with 4 suppression in turn 2 where it even has gone. So you could also
if you do it last for sure.
Yeah.
If your opponent gives you that range, I don't know.
I don't know. I think Iden could be quite a harassing unit early game as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, people have said the same thing about Jin and Pathfinders, and then what they found is when you go ultra aggressive and try to set that stuff up early, you just die. So I worry that this kind of falls into that same category. But, I mean, on the right table against the right opponent, sure.
I don't know. This one right here is a little bit different for me because this is straight up says you aren't going in activation this turn and you're not shooting me this turn with that particular unit. So there's a little bit of more of a shutdown mechanic. Jin, almost relies on getting shot to then start triggering, the extra defense dice. But I don't know. I really like the potential of just saying to an opponent, take that out of your bag. That's going in there. You aren't going with that. Whatever turn it is. I'm just saying, like I said, corner case scenario, there's a way that you could potentially just shut a unit off to start being in a great position, give it 3 to 4 suppression to start the following turn. So
this could, this is something else I was thinking with this. Again, super corner case. Don't know how this is going to play out, but this could be an interesting, aggressive box grab move combined with infiltrate, where you're like, I'm going to go for one of your back boxes.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to open with my 2-pip and then incapacitate you, grab the box and hide or something. If you can set that up, that could be cool. Because, the objectives are placed before you make the decision to infiltrate. If your opponent just telegraphs that and gives you that opportunity, that's something you can do. It's not something you should look for, but it's definitely something you could potentially do, which could be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Her 2-pips are both interesting and flavorful, but both super situational.
I think I like this one better. I think personally I like this one better.
Yeah. And I mean, you could take both realistically. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. I like what this does, like, I don't know, maybe to like Dooku's 3-pip or something. If you can close in on him and like suppress him, because Dooku with one action is not as great. Grievous with one action is not great. Yeah. I don't think you always need to look to do this on a core unit.
No, you don't. I think that's the most situational play of this entire thing, right? 3 suppression on any unit is 3 suppression, right? It's just straight up what it is. I think if there's a unit that you want to shut off in particular, based on, you know, maybe it's a fire support, or maybe like, here's the thing: if it's a unit that's potentially, let's just say they got tokened up, or they're kind of like in a particular pivotal position to make a play. With clones, it doesn't really shut off the token sharing, but there is other units where it's like, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe Veers has spotted a unit, given them a couple things. They got a couple tokens. You move up and you just shut down that unit. You're like, here's 3 suppression, and you are done now. You are not spending those tokens at all. Right? Because sometimes that happens.
Yeah. I think this is cool. I think this is actually going to be really strong against Grievous, now that I think about it. Because I'm like, if you can move to absolute maximum range 1 of Grievous, he can't charge you in a speed 2 move, because he's going to be mathematically shy by like, what, a millimeter or something?
Yeah, a couple.
So if you declare that, you're like, I'm moving to absolute maximum range 1, you can't charge me. Like, and then you throw 5 suppression on him. Well, he can't get to you, and he's probably going to get
5
1
suppression.
action. Right.
Yeah, and he has 5 suppression.
Right. So what is he going to do? Walk towards you and throw 4 dice? I mean, he could. But that's, you know, I think that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
he's a sitting duck that whole turn. He's not going to be able to engage with anything, and he's sort of once he's dug in, he likes to move from engagement to engagement. Like, he doesn't like to be sitting out in the open, because his biggest enemy is suppression. And if you can like deny him the ability to move into melee with something, and then just like keep hammering him with suppression, he's toast. He's effectively shut down.
Right. I think the bailout potential on Iden's also okay. Like, it is a red dice 6 health unit with potentially having nimble. So I feel like there's maybe that turn where you could just, like, you know, not have the best dice, take a little bit more fire than you really are wanting to, if you're trying to go for an extract plan, like either claiming an objective, grabbing a box, that sort of thing, or just making that, maybe that run across, you know, not necessarily the best lanes of fire. I feel with shielded, and obviously ID10, if you're willing to take that wound there, Iden can weather maybe better than a few other options, like definitely better than a Krennic or, you know, someone like that. So
yeah, she definitely can.
Yeah, so I think
she's certainly more defensive than, you know, the other commanders that aren't Force users for the Empire.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 6 dice or 6 health red dice feels good.
You know, something someone pointed out in the chat, and this is true. You could put recon intel on her, so even after you infiltrate, you can still scout.
Yeah.
And you know, that's one way to get her a little closer if you wanted to open with this play, for sure.
I mean, or if you're looking for a box grab, it's just a little bit more. You're that much closer, right? So, yeah.
I don't think there's any. See, the cool thing about giving her infiltrate is there's no restriction on when you place her, like there is on Operative Vader. You can place her first. You can place her right on the middle box if you wanted to do that. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good idea, but you could. You know,
I mean, I always feel like that's a statement play. I feel
it's totally. And if you're playing Palpatine list, you can go first or third. You could grab and back up. Then you can move IRGs out to keep her guardianed, and then you can pull the strings to back her up.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely ways to get the middle box and make plays in the same way that Rebels have that. There's ways now for the Empire to, like, do some tricky stuff. She's still got 8 effective health, with the Seeker droid.
Yeah.
Red saves, access to Guardian in a Palpatine list, access to pull the strings.
I always feel like it's great tactic, but I always feel like it's like super trolly play to be like, okay, here's my unit. This is where I'm starting and this is what I'm doing. You can't stop. If you can't stop me, I probably got this.
Well,
It's
I mean,
it's
does she have it? Oh man, she doesn't. Okay, so here's another like really stupid thing you can do. You could take battle meditation on Palpatine, so you can play give in to your anger, right? So that you can control them from not doing anything to her on turn one. You can battle med your entourage order from your royal guards off onto her. And then and you can do that like pull the strings run trick.
yeah.
It's not as good as like I don't think it's as good as like the Sabine stuff or even like what Cassian's gonna do. But man, it's an option. I always avoided recover the supplies whenever I could as a Palpatine player. Now, if I had her in my list, I wouldn't be so scared of it.
Right.
Just something interesting to think about. I don't know.
It's yeah. I mean, I always it's not like you sit down in the friendly and it's like, oh, box grab came up. All right, awesome. Let me. Oh, you've never seen Iden before? Oh, let me just try this trick
Just
out.
troll you. Also, yeah, I'm probably running 3 snipers because it's a Palpatine list, and
Yeah.
2 of my snipers have the other 2 boxes. So now I just need to turtle up, and if you want to walk into Palpatine, you're probably gonna die. So
I'm just saying, there's no lunch break and this game's over. So you just want to call it.
no, it's pretty interesting stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, all these characters coming out are very characterful. Lots of ways to play them. As I said, I really like that we're not seeing a lot of one-dimensional units come out. There's loadout options, which gives you inevitably more options to run. There's, am I taking this card? Am I taking that card? Am I taking either one? Am I playing this as a backline unit, as a frontline unit, as a box grab unit? Certainly a box grab infiltrate is much different than a backline sniper. You know, so I mean, there's 2 entirely different archetypes here for Iden. So I really like that. So I hate the flight stand on ID10, but I like everything else about this. So awesome. Well, we did another fantastically long episode, as we have been lately. But you know what? I almost felt like we needed to kind of catch up because there was just a lot happening in everyone's world here in relation to bring Joe and I back on the screen here. Just a lot happening in relation to everything.
yeah,
My week's been just topsy-turvy at best.
same.
I was trying to do some Patreon stuff, and then I ended up like working on a worlds display that I felt pretty confident about getting done, but that took me a little bit away from the Kashyyyk build. But then I was like, oh, this is done. So then hard stop on that, right into the weekend events, which, you know, it's setting up for a bunch of guys to come here. And then coronavirus decided it's going to do a thing and rip through the country. So, you know, no stopping that right now. So, which is super unfortunate. So, not sure what you've done in terms of getting out there to stock up, but hopefully you've managed to get a few things. So I know we had, for a couple days, Joe and I were going back and forth about just finding toilet paper. We both like legit just needed toilet paper. And
Yeah.
just
I had
couldn't-
one roll and I was like all over the. You know, it sucks though because I went shopping and I was like, I'm gonna pick up some stuff here and there, and now there's like nothing at any store.
I know.
And I have enough groceries now to get through maybe like the next 2 weeks, but I don't have more than 2 weeks worth of groceries. So we're just in this limbo where we're like, let's hope that they start restocking these shelves and people settle down a little bit, you know.
Right.
Hopefully it gets better rather than worse, but let's see.
Yeah. And don't let me forget, I got to drop over to the pledge screen because I forgot to give our pledgers a shout out here. But this is a statement that I'll probably never hear again. Again, a couple of these things happening around coronavirus, but I was walking through the grocery store parking lot to my car, and I heard one individual talking to another individual, and he said, well, if times get tough, I'm just going to be heading up to upcountry to shoot myself some game. I was like, okay. That's a very Saskatchewan-esque statement, but
hey man, there's a lot of people saying that. There's a lot of people being like, I got plenty of ammo. All right.
yeah.
I mean, if you know how to hunt, you know how to like clean a deer or something, you'll be fine.
I did see a video. I did see a video yesterday. It was a gun shop, and they were doing like a vlog kind of thing. Every rack, case, countertop cleaned out of every firearm. It wasn't in my country, but I'll give you a guess who it was. He had 6 rifles left in the shop.
Yeah, that's why you just have to already own 40.
Okay. It's the mandatory requirement, so
I've got nothing but E11 blasters in this house.
That's fair. I just have a Death Star that I'll point whoever annoys me the most.
I'm like, do replica Star Wars guns help you defend against?
I mean,
we'll see.
You could try it, I guess. Yeah, fair enough.
It's pretty heavy. I could throw it.
Yeah, that's true. We'll just quickly slide over to, let me just reference here. Just going to bring out your DT50 repeater weapon.
Yeah, the TL50. Just beat you over the head with it.
Yeah,
that'll
fair.
work.
That's fantastic. All right, well, before Joe and I jump off, let's jump over to the pledgers here. They do have us up to 330 credits, so we are almost halfway there. But we do want to give a big shout out to Michael, Nathan, Mike, Al, Jeff, Nick, Robert, Chris, and Tyler, as well as all of our Patreon supporters for sure. If you guys like anything that we're doing here at the Legion Academy and want to help us out, it's the Terrain Studio 2019 at gmail.com. Whatever support you want to kick. We know that lots of people have different priorities right now. We always give this a shout out, and of course we appreciate any pledge, but we fully understand that there's priorities for everyone right now. We don't want to stop what we're doing because we know that this is a nice distraction for people to listen to, you know, while they're either stuck in their homes or maybe still traveling to and from work. Hopefully you guys have some opportunity to take some time away from that to deal with other things, but we want to make sure that we get that shout out to everyone as well. So, and
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll be here. I'll be here for sure. Not sure about Joe. We'll connect with him around Friday Night Fights, but we will bring you that. I think we're looking at maybe potentially some Imperials versus some Clankers. I'm not 100% sure, but might see that happening.
Nice.
But we'll for sure have it on the table. I'll be at least behind the camera, so we'll get you multiple shots, and we'll make sure that we get lots of cool in-game shots, and I can do that when I'm not so distracted from trying to play and cast at the same time. So any final thoughts, Joe? Anything we got any PSAs or anything like that? I think we covered off tokens. We got that.
No, I think I'll see you guys on April 3rd when 3/4 of us don't have our products.
Okay. Will we see people before April 3rd or next week? All right.
Hopefully.
Just every episode, still don't got it.
Still don't have vital assets.
Oh, I was just going to say, still don't got to insert whatever product you want there. Yeah. I'll be like, still don't have saber tanks. Still don't. I mean, I have mine, but I mean, I do feel bad. So
yeah, yours got mailed from our store. So
that's correct. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, it came COVID-19 free. So
yeah,
that's
just
good.
Anyone who's still listening, just stay safe out there. Wash your hands. You know, self-quarantine. Be safe. Yeah. And we'll see you guys on Friday.
Awesome.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.